Your own understanding, truth under Babylon's empiricism. What up? Unfortunately, obviously, sad day. We gotta talk about my man, the legend, Dark Man X. Man, it goes without even saying. I actually said if when he was in a coma, if something happened to him, like I'd be hit real hard. For one, because X, along with a lot of others, were symbols of masculinity. He never strayed from him. He always knew who Earl was. So no matter how many changes he went through in the industry, he always was able to come back to Earl and be Earl, you know? And, the personas that, he created around Earl to protect Earl, you know, were based on Earl. So he kept it real, so to speak, regardless of whatever issues he had with, drugs, like everyone, most people do have with drugs, because um, no one personally can produce or manufacture a drug. So it's obviously, a higher revelation, obviously promoting these things. So that we are all victims of. So, which is why it brings me to this quick point. Um, a quote that, I kind of use to influence my personality and just my intellect and my aptitude, which is no one dies, everyone is murdered. And I can be vague and leave it at that, or I can let you uh, enjoy some of the understanding that I have in regard to that, and which is if left up to the natural process, if we were what nature meant us to be, then we would actually experience dying. If it were left up to nature and the natural process, we would have a totally different understanding of death and dying. So because we die, quote unquote, die under the control, under the restraints, under the dictatorship of the handlers, everything that we do is one step closer to our murder, because we are not guided by nature. We're guided by a hybridized draconian type of evil that persists. And all of our people, I'm speaking of the indigenous, or all of our people, our quote unquote celebrities that move on seemingly prematurely, you have to understand the concept of dying and understand that these people are being murdered. Everyone is murdered. No one dies. It's all murder. Well, by natural causes, if I could use such a term. No one dies by natural causes. Everyone is murdered, either directly or indirectly. So get past that and try to understand why our people are being murdered at the rate that they are. It's beyond just, someone dying. There's an agenda involved. The agenda, if you can kind of look through the BS, and you know, if you have the ability to understand the difference between right and wrong and how to apply energy, positive and negative, and then use math to create outcomes, um, you will begin to start to see a pattern. And the fact that they are taking masculinity and throwing it out the window lets me know just one more thing that DMX's demise represents. Besides the fact that he had to pay that debt, and he spoke about it all through his career, besides that fact, there is a bill that has to be paid. You know, um, That debt has to be paid. You have to reap the time when the collection agency wants to give you that call. Because no matter how little you ask for, however much they give you, they want to recoup that. And in my opinion, DMX, his the nail in his coffin was the versus battle with Snoop Dogg. That was probably the best one yet, and it also brought DMX out of a limelight obscurity, meaning he wasn't in the forefront of anyone's conversation. He was just coming off of a wave of incarcerations and things where people were calling him clones and this, that, and the third, and there's a lot of things leading up to that versus battle. That versus battle reinvigorated the name DMX in everyone's mind, even no one has ever forgotten. But DMX was the idea was reinvigorated by that versus battle, and so obviously the time to collect would be now. The 5-0. You have it was dark. It's dark and hell is hot. Basically, DMX describing what it is out here. He's letting you know, yes, it is dark and hell is definitely hot. That's just a metaphor for home, where we are as a people, where he was as a man. So once everyone accepted, his testimony, the powers that be, they influence him even further spiritually, and he knew that he had to make a sacrifice of his flesh and his blood. He made that sacrifice. He knew the reaper would come to call. He made that sacrifice, and after all of that, letting people know, making that sacrifice, he described himself then as X. He tried to tell everyone what was going on. He tried to explain truth. The main thing is he never swayed from his masculinity, his manhood, and what he stood for. Regardless of whatever drug you say or he says or we say that he was on, our celebrities, our people are moving on prematurely because of us. Because of us. Because we don't understand that putting your favorite toy out of reach is pointless. You have a favorite toy, put it up on the shelf, higher than you can reach it. So all you could do is look at that toy. Eventually you're going to forget that toy is there. You might remember and look up at it every once in a while, but you don't have it in arm's reach. We let these celebrities, we let our people loose into a world of tyranny and just demonic influence, and we expect them to be okay. We expect them to entertain us and make their own way without nothing, no support from the people who put them there in the first place. Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, Prince, we all watched them fall to the wayside. All of them, even back to the Sam Cooke days, even back further than that. It's ridiculous. At what point do you have to be shot in the face to understand that somebody's holding a gun to your head? Like, I just don't get it. And I'm just so sad that X had to be part of a community that has no fucking clue how to live life.